All right, I want to get started actually not with a tactical thing, but with a technical thing, and that is your serve. So on the whole, your entire match is a game of errors, and your opponent is committing plenty of them too. But your serve, when you're making it in, is a weapon, but you're just having your percentages too low, and you're double faulting quite a bit. So that, to my mind, is a technical flaw. And when you're missing your serves, you're not missing them in the net, you're missing them deep, right? So you're hitting the ball here very, very flatly, and we can't see it because we don't have as many frames there to really see what the racket head position is, but you tend to push the ball a little bit. So if this here is the racket face, you're basically punching up and the ball is launching a little bit. And when you're missing them, they can be quite deep sometimes. And that is because your grip is not 100% in a continental grip. You're in a, I would almost say, almost an Eastern. So if you remember Boris Becker, he had a very similar grip to you, but he had a lot more control than adding spin. So I think it would really be worth the frustration, yes, of making that change to a proper continental grip, because other than that, your serve motion is really good, with one exception. So you see that here, you are in what's called the loading position. You have a really good knee drop here, so you're getting lots of energy out of your legs. However, in this position, your elbow would have to be bent so that the elbow basically points down. So you're just not getting a whole lot of racket drop other than from your wrist. And you're not getting up to the ball then with enough spin. And that is a function of the grip, of course, right? But this here could be another source of power or velocity. I want to go with that first, with racket head velocity, which makes it easier with a proper grip to add more spin, which then in turn makes that ball safer. So that's the first one. That's a technical thing. And again, I want to urge you to really make that change to a full continental grip, because yeah, your serve should be a weapon, and it is when you're getting it in. So the next area where you can, I think, really improve and really reduce errors, and I do want to stress at the level that you are, I would say you're at a 3.0, 3.5, 4.0, depending on where you're based. The rankings are not always the truest, I think, but there are just a lot of errors, and that's normal for where you are. If you can cut those down, and that really is the name of the game for you to reach your next stage of development, and that is your return. So you have really good returns, but then you're stringing together 3 missed returns in a row or in a game. And it is a lot of times your forehand. Right, so that was a good serve. Some of them are good serves, no doubt. On your backhand, you're doing a better job adjusting and every now and then chipping the ball. So I wouldn't mind if you're chipping the ball to get the ball in play, because again, at your level, you're not the only one who is committing errors. You want to force your opponent to at least, have the chance to make an error. So you had a couple of periods here in the match. That was one where you're having 2, 3 in a row, and that's basically a given match. And it's not that all his serves were bombs. The very last one here was a really good serve, but before that they're makeable or doable returns. So let's look at one where you're on the front side here, and I think I can give you 1 or 2 tips on work on the return a little bit more. So let's look at this return, because I think it's pretty characteristic for how you're missing some on the forehand. It is a good serve, no doubt. However, you're forcing yourself to hit a first serve return inside the baseline. So you're starting further back, and I like that. But when we're now looking at it, so you're hitting it almost inside the baseline. And what you didn't do is you never really, as you're coming forward, got lower. Which means that if it is a pretty good serve, which that was, it really has no time to come up to you, and you're basically having your racket face closed when you're hitting that ball, right? And you see how your body weight here is going to the side rather than continuing to move forward. So a couple of things, just an adjustment. Yes, start back. Don't move up as much, but instead focus a little bit on getting the legs down a little bit more and have a more solid return position. So this might then also be an idea to just chip it back, right? Just make him play. Now this is a second serve and you're just not getting enough rotation on the ball, right? You're too close here up to net and you're almost hitting down on the ball. So make sure that you're not letting the ball drop. You want to get up to it even more aggressively than you are here and really brush it, because you have to clear the net, number one. And of course you have to get the ball back into the court. But again, this is a game where you're basically giving him 2 freebies, or I want to say 1.5, because the previous serve was a pretty good serve. So coming back to the return again, in addition to changing the technique, not always hitting over the ball, maybe just chipping to get the ball in and get him the chance to make a mistake, this is a great return. This is exactly what I would like to see more often. You're moving up to it. You're doing a really good job, basically jamming him deep at the baseline, right? Your margin is really good, big area of the court, and that allows you to maintain a really aggressive court position. And see here, he's already on the back foot. So that's how you want to start off your return points a lot more often, instead of going right over the wings or being super aggressive off a first serve, where it might be a better idea just to get the ball in. And it's really this area here. Give yourself a big target over the center strap. All right, attacking a second serve, same strategy. Go into more of the middle of the court. And this is a really great example here. You're doing a good job doing all the good things: margin, net clearance, and moving up to the ball and attacking a second serve. All right, and you're forcing him to then pass you on a dime, which again is going to be really, really tough over the duration of a match. And this brings me to, I think, your biggest strength. You want to find your way up to net. And I'll show you a couple of examples where you're doing a really good job. And I think that's what you want to build your game around. Because again, up to 4-5, up to a really high level, if you consistently make your opponent have to pass you in small areas, you're going to win a lot of points by just forcing errors, and then of course also winning volley points. So let's look at the ones that you did really well. A couple of things here. So this ball, you're doing a really good job not letting that drop. So meaning that you're moving up to the ball here. You're not waiting behind the baseline. You're coming up there. You take it nicely on the rise and or the apex, the highest part of the bounce. And then you're just redirecting the ball. So another example here, same thing. You're not letting the ball drop. You're taking it very early and you're putting immediate pressure on him. So look at it one more time, where you're taking the ball. Right, you're taking the ball basically, if we were to reverse this, somewhere around here with your feet inside the baseline. That's always a cue for you, because you have a few balls that you're letting drop too much and you're kind of hesitant. Am I going to come in with them, or am I going to move back? And then every now and then you got stuck in no man's land here a little bit. But a good cue is always if you have both of your feet inside the baseline when you can hit that ball. That is a ball that you can attack, and then you can be aggressive with that. But what I liked about that approach shot that you hit here, that was an even better margin than the previous one. So now let's look at a few where I think you left some opportunities on the table there to come in. All right, good serve. That's a short return, and you're just hesitating there. What am I going to do with that, right? And you're really letting that ball drop a lot and then end up shanking it. So that is one thing when you see him being pulled out a little bit, right? So he's making contact with the ball when he's basically behind the alley. He's not going to be balanced. So expect a shorter ball off of that and then come in, right? You could redirect that ball and just make him run a whole lot more there and force him to pass you. That's really the key, right? You want to force him to pass you. You're, again, outright winning enough points at net there with your volleys, but that's going to put even more pressure on him if you're taking balls like this as an approach shot, right? And I think the very next one is a very similar ball this year. Come on in with that, right? Because again, you have that cue that you have both of your feet way inside the baseline, and with your volley skills, you don't have to hit a winner when you're coming in. And maybe these two were just because it was very, very early in the match, but I think there were a few more also later in the match. So let's look at this one. And actually, I also want to point out that you're doing a really good job here getting the ball started, right? Getting the point started with the chip return. So again, you can also do that on the forehand. And on that next one here, you're just a little hesitant and then you're just not getting on there. But you did a good job, right? Keeping him back at the baseline somewhere here. With this ball, that's deep enough. See how you push him back? That is your cue for you to already take a step up, right? When your opponent has to move back, it's almost like a formal dance. He takes one step back, you're taking one step back, because you can expect a shorter ball so that you're not surprised. And if you're getting that, then jump on it and come on in. So again, to summarize, I think I'm seeing 3 areas where you can make huge strides. Number 1 is your serve, getting the percentage up by adding more spin, tweaking that grip, and having more of an elbow drop, and therefore also the racket drop, so that you're accelerating up rather than having to push forward and thereby opening the racket face every now and then and kind of pushing the ball deep. On the returns, do not hesitate to chip some returns in on the forehand to get the ball started. Start back a little further and then moving forward, but coming down into a really low ready position so that your racket face is at the level of the ball and is neutral instead of being almost close because you're a little too upright. And then the last thing, when you have balls that bounce in this area here and you can get to the ball with your feet inside the baseline, come on in. Right? You're not going to win every point, but it's the constant pressure that you're putting it on your opponent for A, having to pass you, and B, they then have to hit deeper balls. Because if you're attacking everything here relentlessly, moving in and not moving back then, and resetting the point basically, that is another layer of pressure. They have to hit more precise balls. So I hope you find this helpful. Let me know what you think.